There's a lot that could be said about this movie, but that mannequin is the creepiest thing we've ever seen in this franchise. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2016 supernatural comedy, Ghostbusters. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all that extra content. Ghostbusters stars Melissa McCarthy, Kristen, Wiig, and Kate McKinnon, and was directed by Paul Feig. It tells the rebooted story of the Ghostbusters, a team of eccentric paranormal investigators who uncover a supernatural disturbance and must fight to save New York City before it's too late. Revisiting this film half a decade after its release is an interesting experience for a number of reasons, but mostly it's just a relief. We've had plenty of films and franchises that have stirred up controversy and internet backlash over the years. Toxicity and fandom extremes have become an unfortunate and tiresome mainstay in the last 10 years or so. But few movies have topped Ghostbusters 2016 when it comes to pre-release drama and online vitriol. The discourse surrounding this film back in 2016 was repellent. It was extremely unpleasant and frankly absurd given how benign of a popcorn summer blockbuster this movie actually is, but it certainly tainted the film in the moment because it had this toxic, noxious cloud hanging over it. So it wasn't even something you wanted to get involved in discussion about. And while some toxic fallout still sticks to this movie, that cloud has largely dissipated at this point, so it's not quite as hellacious to talk about now. I am somebody who enjoys the original Ghostbusters. I grew up watching both Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and occasionally the cartoon, so I certainly have some nostalgia for the franchise. But I'm not of the opinion that Ghostbusters is one of the untouchable cinematic greats. And so when this reboot was announced, it didn't bother me. I didn't expect it to be better than the original, but its mere concept and existence wasn't repugnant to me, and it still isn't. This movie is far from a favorite of mine, but its existence within the franchise is completely inoffensive. It's not a remake, so it's not trying to impose some sort of gender-swapped replacement of the original film. It's not a sequel, so it isn't altering the existing franchise storyline in any way. It's just a reboot that exists as its own distinctly separate thing. It's just a different take on the Ghostbusters concept, presenting things from a different perspective and with a few modernizations in terms of effects and comedy style. So, although this film riffs on some of the story beats and character archetypes of the original film, I would not classify this as a rehash of that first film. There are certain similarities and lots of references and Easter eggs, but this film does have its own separate story. In fact, I would say that Ghostbusters 2 is much more of a rehash of Ghostbusters 1 than this one is. The circumstances surrounding the team's formation are quite different, as are many of the challenges they face, ghostly or otherwise. The main threat of this film, especially, is very different, and while that part of the storyline is frustratingly underdeveloped, as is the villain, it did have some potential and brought in some interesting, unique things to the supernatural, ghostly menace side of the franchise. It definitely falls apart, especially in the third act and that bizarre and manic finale, but it was oddly engaging in spite of not being very good. To be fair, the storylines of all of the Ghostbusters films have been weird and kinda hit or miss, even the exalted original. But a big part of what made that first film so solid was the cast, and the interplay among the extremely memorable characters. While I personally prefer the characters from the original, this movie honestly does an okay job with its characters. We've got 4 Ghostbusters, so it'd be natural to try to equate them one for one with the original Ghostbusters. And there are certainly some character traits that will remind you of the OG team, but this group is its own thing. The character dynamics are pretty different, and how they all know each other and get involved with the team varies too. And I actually liked the team dynamics here, and how it explores not only female friendships, but also rekindled friendship. All 4 of the Ghostbusters here shine at different points, and although all 4 of them also irritate me at certain points, they're each amusing in their own different ways. Speaking of amusing, the comedy here is very hit or miss for me. There's some stuff in here that's genuinely quite funny, but there's also a lot that falls flat. Comedy is one of the most subjective things about movies, and I know plenty of people who find the comedic style of Paul Feig's films hysterical, but they've all been very inconsistent for me in terms of humor. And Ghostbusters is no different. This movie features a lot of improv comedy, which makes sense given how many members of the cast are from SNL. And that improv is nice at times, because it yields some funny stuff and showcases the cast's chemistry. Unfortunately, as has been the case with Feig's other comedies, there appears to be very little that got left on the cutting room floor. The improv just keeps going in a lot of cases, and the gags and riffing often overstay their welcome. And so I got a lot more enjoyment out of the shorter jokes and one-liners and reaction shots than I did from most of the improv. The Ghostbusters films have never been known for their technical prowess, and I know a lot of people like to rag on the CGI of this film. And while I definitely think there's too much emphasis on the CGI, I don't think it looks bad. It just looks like a very modern version of the cartoony campiness of the 80s effects. It's extremely colorful, very glossy, and very visually distinctive from the previous two films, but not awful. In fact, what I think probably contributes the most to people's criticism of the looks of this film is actually the editing. It's pretty rough, especially during the more action-oriented scenes, which very non-coincidentally contain the bulk of the CGI. Despite the absurd amount of drama that surrounded this film, Ghostbusters 2016 kind of just benignly exists. It's very average, but also very watchable. It's kind of similar to Ghostbusters 2 in that regard. Both of the films have their enjoyable qualities, but you're probably not going to opt to watch one of them over the 1984 original all that often. It's an inconsistent film that isn't great, but also not awful. It certainly benefits from franchise nostalgia, and banks on it with its cameos and references, but as an alternate variant of Ghostbusters, it's okay. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro has gotta be the characters. I should preface this by saying I don't think all of the characters were good, and even the ones that are good are a bit hit or miss throughout the movie. The villain is very underdeveloped, and I'm definitely in the minority on Kevin, because I don't find that character funny at all. But I do like the core four of the Ghostbusters. They've all got their quirks and individual qualities, but I think this film really excels with the character dynamics and the relationships of these four characters. It's more than just, let's start a ghostbusting business together, and I appreciate that. On the con side, the biggest issue is the comedy style. Now, this is something that I'm sure some of you would put in the pros, but I'm just not that much of a fan of the rambling improv style on display here. There are definitely some good lines, and the film isn't without its funny moments, but much like the characters, the comedy is also very hit or miss for me, with an alarming number of misses. The second con is the editing. So this could actually be considered in a fairly broad sense and include the relative lack of editing of the improv comedy riffs, or it could be a bit more narrow and focus specifically on how the scenes are cut together. The movie's a little pacey, but never really drags outside of some of the tediously long jokes. But the editing during the action sequences is just not good. It's got this very unwarranted frenetic quality that just makes it feel messy and rushed. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Ghostbusters or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Ghostbusters 2.5 out of 5 paws. It's a mildly entertaining alternate take on the Ghostbusters concept that benefits from its cast's chemistry, but gets bogged down by a silly script and inconsistent improv comedy. It lacks the charm of the original film, but as a reboot, it's not awful. I would recommend Ghostbusters to fans of Paul Feig's films, or the cast members, or both since there's a lot of overlap there. The comedic styling is very similar to what we get in Feig's other films, with a lot of improv-type material that just keeps going. This one's probably going to be iffy for big fans of the original Ghostbusters. But if you're just a casual fan or have no real nostalgia for that 1984 film, you probably have a better shot of enjoying this one. If you liked Ghostbusters, I've obviously gotta recommend the original Ghostbusters. Although the story is actually fairly different from the reboots, the basic story beats are similar, and it too really excels with its characters. If you want some more Ghostbusters, but prefer to stick a bit closer in style and feel to the original film, you should check out Ghostbusters 2. It's very much a rehash of the first film, but has its fun moments and also sees all of the main characters return. And if you really like the comedy style and cast present here in this reboot, you might want to watch Bridesmaids. It lacks the sci-fi element of this film, but it's another comedy directed by Paul Feig that also features a number of the same actors. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Ghostbusters? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's a movie that you think didn't have much of a chance to succeed due to pre-release drama or controversy? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.